Hi folks, this is Shelley from Taming Frenzy, and it is that time of year again, one of my favorite times of the year. It is time when the 2026 Power Sheets are finally here and are finally available, and I got mine in here just a day or so ago, and I have not even opened them up yet. First thing I always notice is how nice the box is. I love it. This thing on the outside here, it shows you what color you've got that's in the box. That's the color of your cover. I'm not saying that very well. Anyway, open the box up, and it always comes wrapped so pretty. You know, it comes with some tissue paper and this pretty little sticker, which I kind of hate to tear, but obviously I'm going to tear something. I ordered the very light blue. I think it was called Snowflake this year. The last couple of years I've had a light purple and then a darker purple. And then this is the one I got this year, and it's really, really pretty. They had several colors this year, including a floral, and I always think the florals are pretty. But the reason that I decided to order this one is because of this reason right here. I have another planner that I have already showed you that I'm going to use this year for my content calendar to keep track of social media and content on the blog and on the video and all of that. And I thought that this one would be a pretty addition to it, which it is. I like those two. I didn't want to get the second one that was florals, even though it was really a pretty cover. But I thought these two might be pretty, that this light blue might bring out and accentuate real nicely with this one right here. So that's the reason I chose this cover. And I haven't had a light blue one in the past. I've probably had most of the other covers, not all of them. They're all pretty. You really can't go wrong. Of course, I love the Power Sheets every year. I've been using these now for I don't know how many years, 4, 5, 6 years anyway, at least. They always have a nice sturdy cover. You open them up, and I just had a couple of things fall out of it. But you've got a card here. This one says what matters most, which you can write down. And then this one is your word of the year. And I nearly always fill these out and then tape them to the inside. But you open them up, and they're just pretty. They're so pretty. This actually is the cover of the flowery covered one if you wanted it. This will show you exactly what it looks like. But they're beautiful inside. They always are. And, of course, you've got a place here inside where you've got these pretty lines that you could keep some track of some things should you wish to. You've got this right here gives you a list of holidays. And then you've got some stickers that come with it that you can use in your planning. Let me stick all of that back in there so I can do my work when the time comes. And, of course, you've got a place to put your name, who it belongs to. And then this was something they added last year that I really liked. It basically talks about, you know, we're working for progress, not perfection, because the truth is none of us are perfect. We're not going to do things perfectly because we're imperfect people. But it kind of shows you that life is like a road map, and you can set some particular milestones here that you want to meet that will help you as you're doing your planning. And then you've got the months through the year here. It shows, you know, your tending list. You've got a place for a quarterly refresh here, and then another quarterly refresh. You've got a page here you can help brainstorm ideas for the things that you would like to work on during the year. Again, a place for what fires you up. Here's a place where you can do a reflection from the year previous. Take a look at the prior year. What were some of the good things, the challenges, some of the lessons that you learned, and some things that you're grateful for. And then you do an evaluation. And it has several different areas of life. For example, your community, your family, your home and spaces. It's got several of those. And then you've always got a blank one down here where you can pick an area that may not be included in here. And you can rate how you're doing in that currently. So you can take stock of where you are right now. It's hard to go forward if you don't know where you're at, right? And then you've got more prep work to go through about your mindset, about the things that matter to you, the kind of decisions you're going to make. And then you've got a place where you basically will kind of make a statement, and it guides you through it to help you make your statement. And then you'll choose your focus. You've got a place here to brainstorm goals. And I'm just going to say this about this. I have been prone in the past to want to not do this until I had the right pens, and my handwriting looked real pretty, and so that it would all be pristine and gorgeous at the end of the year. But folks, this is a planning tool. It's about helping us make our life better, and it's better to have some things scratched out or to have some things erased, or to have some things that weren't just, the neatest handwriting in the world, because the whole purpose of this is not to have something that's gorgeous when you get finished. It's to have helped you make the progress in the areas that were important to you. So don't be afraid to get in there and get it a little messy, even though that's frequently not our, first intent. But it's got a place for you to brainstorm some ideas. You're not committing to them yet. You're just brainstorming. It gives you some information about how to bloom where you're planted. And I think that's probably a really important concept. Too often we want to live in what would be the idealized version of our life or our home or whatever. And, we're not living in fantasy land. We live in reality. So this helps us to understand and to, take a look at where we actually are planted at this particular time in our life. And then we've got a place here to actually set some yearly goals. And you don't have to set a goal for every line. You set the goals that you need to set for yourself. And of course, it's just pretty on the inside. It's got pretty pages that frankly just make me happy every time I look at them. Then for each of your goals, you've got a 2-page spread with your action plan. And I've talked in other videos about how important it is to create your plan. And I'll actually be talking about that in an upcoming series that I've got as well. But you need a plan in order to achieve your goals. But this is what you want. And then this is what your yearly goal is and why you're motivated to achieve it. In other words, why is this an important thing to do? Why are you spending time on it? And then the things that you can do. And you've got some answers to fill in here. And then you've got a place where you can look at breaking it down season by season, where you can either put milestones or where you can put rewards for yourself, or where you can list tasks that would be specific to a particular time of the year. And you've got that going through for several different places for all of your goals to put in there. And then you've got a place here that is pace yourself for success. This is an overview of the year. It's got it by quarters, January, February, March, which is quarter 1. So you've got all 12 months where you can then maybe plan some things out, because there's probably a lot on your plate like there is on most people. And it's important to pace ourselves. We're not going to do everything at once. Rome was not built in a day. Then you've got a place where you can put your word of the year, in addition to on that pretty card that you can put at the front should you choose to. And then why you chose this word. And I have chosen different words in the past. This year my word has been intentionality for 2025, because I have wanted to make sure that I was intentional in doing the things that were important to me and not just kind of fly by the seat of my pants all the time and then look back and think, well, I didn't intend to do that. So that has been my word for this last year. I haven't set my word yet for this coming year. Need to start thinking about that. And then here you've got a place to visualize what's ahead. You've got some information here that tells you how to keep and how to use your tending lists. Some information about perfectionism. And then it starts into your months of the year. And you've got these nice dividers that are marked. This one for January, all good things start with one step. Very appropriate for January. And then you've always got a place for your important to-dos for a month, goals to make progress on, things that are on your calendar, and things that are on your mind, and then just kind of a check-in for those particular areas so you can see as you're going through the year, are you making progress? Are things getting better? Or are they getting worse? But you've got a place down here to do all of those. Then you've got a 2-page calendar spread with a place on the side where you can put notes. I tend to put the books that I have read during the course of a month over here. I also like to take stickers or washi tape and decorate these, because there's no reason you can't make it pretty. And then here in January, you've got a place for little by little progress, to talk about some of your routines, and to try and maybe set a weekly routine for yourself. And then with each month, you've got, on one side, you've got your tending list. This is where you put down the monthly goals or projects you wanted to work on, and you've got a status bar that you can fill in to show how you're doing on those. You've got a place here to mark out the weekly activities that you need to do. For example, one of mine nearly always is meal planning, to make sure if you set your meal plan for the week. And then you've got a place where you can keep daily habit trackers, which can be really helpful for tracking your progress and seeing, are you actually doing the daily, the to-do work, the grunt work in some ways to think of it. Are you getting those things done daily? And then over here, you've got a place to put some goals. I tend to think of these as projects and write down the steps that you need to take, and then you can check them off as you do them. And then you always have a place that's the month in review, where it talks about, your favorite memories, what you're grateful for, what worked, what didn't work, maybe songs that were in your head. You get some of those little brainworms in your head, and the things that you read or listened to or watched on TV or anything like that. So you've got that going through for each of the months. And at the end of each quarter, you've got a quarterly reset so that you can just kind of take stock again, evaluate where you are, what kind of progress you've made in the previous 3 months, what things do you need to tweak or do you need to change. And let's be honest, sometimes our goals during the course of a year change. I have had years where I set a particular goal, something I really thought was important in January, that by some point later in the year I decided, my priorities have changed. That is not a priority to me anymore, and I would either abandon it or I would revise and tweak it to make it something that was more appropriate. That's okay. None of this is set in stone. You're not chiseling in the stone, and it's something, that's a great thing about pencils and erasers. You are always free to change your mind, but these are out. You can start ordering them. I've forgotten the date, but I'll put that down in the description below. They've got about 5 different covers to choose from. I highly, highly recommend these things. I have made more progress since I have been using these things than in all the years previously, because always before I tended to sit down and make resolutions, and I'd make this nice long list, and I'd file it away somewhere, and I'd forget about it, to be really honest. I would forget about it, and it would just be out of sight, out of mind. But with this, it's pretty. I keep it out close to my desk. I look at it just every day or two so that my goals are constantly in the forefront of my mind, and that I can check that tending list to see, am I doing the things that I need to be doing to make those goals happen? Anyway, this is from the Cultivate What Matters company. I think this is a great product. I highly recommend, if you want to have the best year you can and to make the most in your personal development journey and just in your life in general, go check these out. They are worth it.